Good morning and welcome to Free Advice Friday. My name is Carrie Barnum for New Shelves Books, and we're here to talk about publishing, marketing, and the business of being an author. We do meet every Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern, and you're welcome to join us simply by going to newshelves.com/FAF for Free Advice Friday. We take questions live, and we also do accept emailed in questions to info, at newshelves.com. So you can send those in during the week if you're not able to join us live. And all of our replays do go up on our YouTube channel, which is just New Shelves Books on YouTube. So with that, we've got a couple of questions that came in by email this week, and we will start with those. So the first question we have is from Jane, and Jane says, why does my KDP dashboard indicate that I haven't sold any units on a day when my best sales rank on Amazon was really good? Shouldn't this be reflected in KDP? So to break that down, the question is, if you have, if you're seeing a really good sales ranking on your book listing on your Amazon sales page one day, you expect that sales of that day would correlate, but sometimes they don't, and it can be confusing. So here is the things about that. If we're talking about print books, when a print book is ordered, it typically will immediately reflect in your ranking. And the ranking on Amazon, we've talked about this before, that the category rankings are recalculated every hour or so. So if someone buys a book on Monday, your category rank will reflect that on Monday. However, when you see it in your Amazon dashboard as a sale, isn't when the book is ordered, it's when the book ships. So you may see category ranking go beautifully on Monday, but the sales come in on Tuesday or Wednesday because that is when the book is actually shipping. So sometimes there'll be a little delay there, or vice versa. Sometimes you'll see a sale, but your rank is the same and Amazon's just lagging behind. And so your ranking will go up a day or sometimes even a couple days later. This especially happens when Amazon is making updates to their platform. If they're doing anything new with ranking, categories, any of that, you'll see that lag sometimes. So that is part of it. The other thing is that if we're talking about ebooks, keep in mind that your ranking is adjusted according to Kindle downloads and page reads. So you may have a bunch of people downloading your book on Kindle Unlimited and your ranking reflects that, but you don't see any page reads because they haven't started reading yet. So that is something that goes into line as well. That's why when we're looking at the bestseller ranking on Amazon, it's a guide, but it's not definitive. It's not perfect, but it is a guide. And that's why for those of you who are traditionally published or who don't have access to a KDP dashboard because you're not self-published, that's why when I work with authors who are traditionally published, we go by the ranking as an indicator, but we know it's not perfect. It's a guide. And so that's why sometimes what we see may be a little bit different than in the front rather than the back. It could be a delay on either way. And sometimes it's just straight up a glitch because yeah, it happens. It's all driven by AI and bots and computer systems, and sometimes they glitch. But that's typically how that works. Let's see. Let's see. When I look on the orders page on KDP reports, I see 25 orders so far for the month, but the marketing page only shows 6 sales. Why does that happen? Lynn, I love this question. So anyone, look, I just got excited. Anyone who has done a lot of work in Amazon ads will, I've never met any person who disagreed with what I'm about to say. There are your sales that show up in the Amazon ad dashboard. And then there's what you see on the sales side. And they correlate, but they don't necessarily show up on the report. So what I mean is if you're running ads, you may only see 6 sales on your ad dashboard from 6 sales, but you know you sold 25 books and you're not doing any other marketing. There is a couple of reasons for that. Number one, I could have clicked on your ad when I was on my phone on, let's say I was on the web. I was actually on the web browser and I clicked on the ad for your book on my phone. But then I'm like, oh, let me go get my Kindle and download it that way or read it that way. Or maybe I hadn't logged into my account yet. And so I have to log into my account. Maybe my husband has the app and I tell him, hey, can you buy this? So it's connected there. So sometimes it's simply that it's not always linear on how people buy books. The other thing that we don't talk about is when you're running ads, you get these things called impressions. And impressions is every time someone sees your book. You don't pay for these. It's part of the ad process, and it's every time your full book shows up on the screen. But you only pay when someone clicks on your book. However, if you're getting a lot of impressions when people are looking for things, sometimes they see your book because it's on another sales page or it's on a search, but they don't click on it. But then after they look at something, they go, oh yeah, what was that one book? I remember. And they type in whatever the title may be. And when they click on it, it's not an ad, it's your actual book listing. So there's this kind of idea that, yes, you want to, once again, use Amazon advertising to track your ads, but it's not enough just to look at what the ad dashboard tells you. You also have to look at the rise and fall of your sales, your actual sales, in this case, in your KDP dashboard, in correlation to when you run ads. So for example, you're seeing sales in your dashboard that aren't showing up in your ad dashboard. So your KDP sales dashboard that you're not seeing in your Amazon ad dashboard. And so what sometimes happens is I'll tell people, or people will tell me it's not working, it's not worth it, I'm shutting my ads off. So they'll shut their ads off. And then their sales drop to nothing because they were getting that correlation effect of where they were actually getting a lot more sales overall because they were marketing the book, because the book was being bought and reviewed. So the Amazon algorithms were showing it to more people and it was getting bought more. So that's when we're looking at your ad dashboard, yes, we want to see some nice conversion and success there because it's an indicator, but we also have to take in the big picture of how many sales you're making and are you doing other marketing that could be causing those or not? Because sometimes it's that extra effect that happens. It's one of those things. And this drives my numbers people bonkers. My people who like numbers and they like things to make sense. Because I'm a data person. I like to read data and I like to look at it, but I also am okay saying, okay, but correlation effect and looking elsewhere. My brain works like that. But for people who really want all the numbers to make sense and line up, they have the hardest time with this because many times in marketing or in ads or Amazon, just on Amazon, it doesn't work like that. It's an indicator, but it's not solid facts. And so that's one of the things you kind of have to look at and be open to. All right, perfect. Can you talk about the benefits, if there are any, of doing a premium Goodreads giveaway as opposed to a standard giveaway? Absolutely. Here's the thing, a premium giveaway, I have heard one person ever say they thought it was worthwhile. And I've done a lot of Goodreads giveaways and I've worked with a lot of people doing Goodreads giveaway, and only one said the premium was worth it. So the difference really is that a Goodreads giveaway, you're doing the giveaway, you're on the giveaway pages, and you get the lift. And we've talked about Goodreads giveaways and why I think that they're valuable. Namely, that if you do it prior to your launch, when you're doing this, prior to your launch, everyone who signs up for the giveaway has to put your book on their to read shelf. So they put your book on their to read shelf. And then what happens is on launch day, depending on how their notifications are set up, they get a notification either in Goodreads, in the app, or to their email saying a book on your to read shelf is available today. And because Amazon owns Goodreads, it includes an Amazon sales link if it's an email, and it's got that linking information on your Goodreads page. So doing one prior to publication gets a lot of eyes on your book. It gets people adding your book to their to read shelf, which then turns into a personal, notification to their account saying the book is available with the sales link. And those are $119 for the standard giveaway. And I find that vastly worth it. I mean, most Goodreads giveaways that I run have anywhere between 1,000 and 4,000 entries. So if I break that down and say, okay, a personalized email, I mean, it's not personalized, but a email going to individual people talking about a book they've already noticed from a company that they recognize with a sales link. And I break that down into $100 and 1,000 emails, the math makes sense to me. So for me, I think that makes a lot of sense. Now, on a premium giveaway, the difference is a premium giveaway. They say that they like put you on the front pages of some of the giveaway pages, and you get to actually email or send a message to everyone after the giveaway. You get to send a message to everyone who entered the giveaway. So you don't get their email addresses. You only get the contact information of the people who win the giveaway. But through Goodreads, you can send a message to everyone who entered, telling them more about the book, whatever it may be. So you've got that direct contact. And again, some people have found that helpful, but not as many. The one person actually who said the premium giveaway, which I believe is $4.99. I think it's right at $500. The one person who said that it was worth it to them to be able to send that email was someone who did a Goodreads giveaway after their book came out. So they wouldn't have gotten that notification because the notification that a book is available now only happens on launch day. So if you do a Goodreads giveaway after your book comes out, you don't get that email. And then the value, in my opinion, decreases quite a lot. But the premium giveaway, you're allowed to message everyone. One time, you get one big message to everyone who enters. So in that case, they found it valuable. So I think that's just important to know. Most of the time when I'm running Goodreads giveaways, I do the standard. And I will say also that that's what most of my clients from big traditional press to smaller press are doing as well. They're doing the standard giveaway. And I do believe March is the month where Goodreads does discounts on their giveaways. I think their standard giveaway, and you have to run it in March if I'm not mistaken. But I want to say it's $99. So check into that because March, if you're looking at it, March may be a good day to do a giveaway because of that discount. It's a little bit cheaper. It's usually $119 and it's $99, I think, in March. So good thing to know there as far as pricing. Let's see. I'm looking at the website. It says sales price applies to giveaways which end in March. So it has to end in March. And the standard giveaway is $99, and the premium giveaway, their price went up. The premium giveaway is usually $5.99 and it's $3.99 just if it ends in March. So you've got those kind of two options there, and March is a good time to do it, it looks like. You are welcome. You are welcome. All right. Another question here. Larry's asking about, I was mentioning, I think right before the call, I was mentioning that I am currently working with a high school intern from my local high school, and she wanted to intern in editing and publishing. And so we've been working together, and we're working together as credit for her throughout this year, this school year. And Larry's question was, do you pay an intern? What do they do for you? What's a good weekly rate? So here's a cool thing about internships. Internships, you can find interns at both high schools and colleges. And what is fantastic about this is sometimes it's a paid internships, but many times it's not a paid internship. It is part of their school credits. So it just depends on the internship, of course, but many of them, so for example, the one that I'm in, the student gets credits for the internship. It's part of what helps them graduate for the course that they're in. So the amount of time that they spend weekly for the one I'm working with is relatively low. They're high school students. So typically it's going to be somewhere around 10 hours a month. Sometimes if it's a college internship, it'll be more or less. But what's so nice about it is that you are allowing the intern to get real world experience. In my case, I have to fill out paperwork and things, kind of grading the student. It's part of their grade. And otherwise, if it's an intern and you're paying them, it's still, oftentimes lower pay than if you were just going out and finding someone to do certain things. And what can they do for you? It depends on what you're looking for and what you've agreed with them. But a lot of intern work, because I do a lot of the publishing companies, the marketing agencies, the literary agencies that I work with, they often will work with interns. And a lot of the work they do is research. They will do pitching, sometimes actually pitching for authors. I actually have an author, she's on the call. I won't call her out, but an author on the call who's worked with an intern. So she is I don't mean just an author, but she's an author and she actually has worked with an intern in this way and doing research, doing pitching. So she's given her pitches and then sent them out on pitching. Graphic, a lot of interns are working in some form of marketing or graphic design. So you can have them do that. All sorts of things. Sometimes it's simple proofreading or content writing, depends on what they're specifically looking to do as part of it, and then what you have for them to do. But it's been a lot of fun. I will say that it is a work to have an intern because interns typically stick with you for a semester, so that is not forever. And there is a bit of a learning curve and training. So you do have to, you have to pour into them as much as you would like to benefit from the skills that they're learning. So you have to train them and work with them in that way. As I said, sometimes there's some grading paperwork that goes into it. And kind of do it that way. But I've had such fun. Again, I really love to work with students and kids. I take quite a few calls actually just talking to students and their parents when the students want to get into publishing or writing and things like that, just because I just love it. I wish someone had done that for me when I was a teenager or a kid. So I like to do it. And interns, I think you are definitely taking time and pouring into them, but they've done some great work for me as well, I can say so. All right, a follow-up for Goodreads. Would you not recommend a giveaway if one of my picture books is already published? So if it's already published, as I mentioned, that is when I would recommend that you maybe consider that premium giveaway where you can send a direct message to everyone who entered the giveaway. I would not do the standard giveaway. I don't think you're going to get as much from it. I would also say that when doing a Goodreads giveaway, I've had much more success, and I mean much more success doing print giveaways opposed to digital giveaways. So giving away ebooks, you'll get response, but I always get lower response than if I offer 3 or 5 print books. The people actually submitting is much higher for print books than ebooks in my experience. All right. I recently went and spent a lot of money for a review on Kirkus. So this is a paid review on Kirkus. Whether it would be good or bad or indifferent, I didn't expect colorful words in the top-notch overview of what the book meant. I was disappointed. I received a synopsis and they spent the ending, so I cannot even use it anywhere. I did inquire, and that's how they do it. A typical review is 500 to 750 words. And Kirkus only does 325. What a letdown. So that's not fully true as far as a typical review. Reviews from book reviewers will actually range, and they, in my experience, will range anywhere from 300 words to 750, even 1,000 in some reviews. But it depends on the reviewer and the outlet for, for how long that review might be. So that does range. And then as far as the quality of the review, without seeing it, I couldn't say much. I will say that You know, even if you pay for a review, doesn't mean it'll be a positive review. Now, if you feel like the actual review was poorly done in the manner of you didn't feel like someone read the book or they gave massive spoilers, that kind of thing, sometimes you can reach out to the review company, but you have to be very concise and not, I didn't like the review. They don't care if you liked the review or not. Now, if you do tell them, I do, you know, if you tell them, my issue with the review is that there was a complete spoiler and so is therefore unusable, or you know, the review is inherently wrong. You know, they said my character Jane did this and that's not anywhere in the book, so I don't believe the reviewer read it. If there's something like that, sometimes you can go back to them, but that is one of the things with reviews is you don't necessarily, like, you aren't necessarily going to like the review. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. If you're going to use an excerpt, you have to publish it. So that's one of the gambles when you're paying for a review. And this is why typically I recommend that if you're going to go after trade reviews, that you do them prior to publication and you submit for the free reviews. Doesn't guarantee you're going to get a review, but it is free. So your investment is more just your time and maybe a couple of copies of your book. But that does stink. And I'm sorry that it wasn't more of what you thought you were going to get. I know that's disappointing. I will say that I got a Kirkus review for a client of mine. It's been a couple years now, but I got a Kirkus review for a client of mine and they shredded this book apart. I mean, the reviewer hated it. They said it was awful, that it was obviously not going anywhere. I mean, shredded this book. We decided not to publish it, even though it had been a paid review. So it spent several $100s on this review. And it was, especially for an author who was putting out their first book, and that's the feedback you get prior to publication. It was a little disheartening for that author. And again, several $100s that we decided not to publish or use at all because the review was that terrible. And I will say that now that author has 9 books out. They're working on 10 and 11. They make a very solid income every month from their writing. Their book, all of their books on Amazon and Goodreads have a 4 to, most of them are around 4.5 stars. So just because a reviewer doesn't like a book, just because they say terrible things, doesn't mean that a book won't be successful. It doesn't mean that readers, the average consumer, might love it. So it's one person's opinion. A review is subjective and it's one person's opinion. So if you do get a harsh review, don't let it get you down. The proof really is in the general readership and once you get a lot of people reading and reviewing. So just keep that in mind. One bad or harsh critique does not make it doesn't make a failure. It means that you got some critique and take it. And if it's got something useful in there, if they have some good feedback, take it. And if not, move on and look forward to what's next. But I know that's harsh and that can be frustrating. Yes. And you can sometimes see that certain platforms might be a little more harsh than others. And Kirkus is one of those that doesn't mince words. They tend to be, sometimes they tend to be harsh. So, lots of negative posts on Authors Guild regarding Goodreads reviews. Yeah, Richard, here's the thing is that Goodreads has gotten a lot of flack in the last couple of years for people review bombing, for people just leaving terrible reviews with no real purpose. And that is one of the negative sides of Goodreads is sometimes people will just leave harsh reviews or they won't even read a book and they'll rate it poorly. They woke up and, you know, their cereal was soggy or something and they decided to leave bad reviews, or, you know, their friend found out that you went to college with them and they didn't like you and they leave you a bad review. And that is one of the downsides of Goodreads is that it's not based on actual sales or purchases. Anyone can leave a review. But I will say that the experiences I've seen in that, and there are some terrible review bombing and things like that, but overall on Goodreads, I have not seen that. There have been some rare cases that have been highly publicized, But overall, I think that the Goodreads reviews are maybe very honest. Again, they don't mince words, but I haven't found people going around just leaving terrible reviews as a standard. I think that's, we hear about it a lot because it's highly publicized when it happens, but I think it's more rare than we might think. See, I enjoyed Walt's presentation last week. So did I. And I also watched a few of his videos. The unanswered question, how effective have these videos been? You know, how, without indulging any numbers, um, did sales go up? And so I do know I did ask Walt, and he did say his book sales have gone up. They have become more regular and consistent. Now it's not, I will say from experience working with people on platforms, unless you go viral, book sales probably are not going viral. But it's about building that consistent audience that can lead to more sales. And I know Walt said that he was getting more consistent sales with his books. And I think the real test will be once he's got a new book out. So we'll have to follow up with him then because his two books he's got out now are a little bit older. So we'll follow up with Walt when he's got that new book done. No pressure, Walt. Now we're just all waiting for you to hurry up with your edits and get that book out there. Do you have any data on the conversion rate from people who enter a Goodreads giveaway and put the book on a to-read shelf to actually purchasing the book? Unfortunately, I do not because we don't actually get any of that data. And we have no way of knowing if they buy. Now, Goodreads might use tracking links in their emails for Amazon, but we do not get that information. I wish we did. As a data girl, I wish we did. However, we don't have access to that. But it is a lot of good exposure. It's emails directly into inboxes. And so it's kind of looking at it that way. And again, I've gotten some good reviews from Goodreads giveaways, not always, but I've gotten some Goodreads, you know, if you're sending them to reviewers. And then also I have definitely seen sales come through at launch, but typically Goodreads is not the only thing we're doing. We are sending out to an email list. We are promoting on social media. We might even be doing Amazon ads and Goodreads giveaway. So it would be very hard to tell if those sales came directly from that. However, I will say one of the things I watch is if on the to read shelf, people put it on their to read shelf before launch. Once the book comes out, it is interesting to watch to see if people then start to move it over to currently reading or if you just start to see reviews. Keep in mind that sometimes people will check it out from a library and you'll start to see reviews, but not a sale. So sometimes there's that as well. When I search on the Meta Facebook library for ads for memoirs that are doing well and that might be worth using as design examples for my ads, I find very few, often no ads for books that seem worth emulating. Do you have any tips for keywords to use? I've tried using specific names of books that have similar categories as mine and or that are doing well and other keywords like book. Here is my trick to looking at. So for those of you who don't know, you can search the Facebook ad library and find other people's ads and you can emulate them. It's fantastic because you can see what other people are doing that is working or not working or get a sense of what other people are doing in the marketplace. And Beth, it sounds like you're going into the marketplace and just searching. I would go a different way. What I would do is I would find a couple of memoirs that you think are good comps to yours. I would look up that person's page on Facebook, see if they have a business page, and you can check on individual pages if that page is running ads. So it's a little bit different. And let me see if I can show you what I mean. Give me a minute so I can maybe share my messy screen. It's like showing you my closet over here. It's a mess. Let me think. Okay. Let's see if I can find a page. All right. just typed in a random name and it happened to be an author. So I don't know if that's my subconscious or uh what that was, but that was funny. Let me see. Just a second. I'm trying to find it to make sure I've got it up on my screen before I show you. Here we go. Right. I'm going to show you what I mean. Let me share my screen. Okay. We are on Facebook now, and we are on the page of Elle Gray, the Olivia Knight FBI mystery thriller. So if you're like a thriller author or something like that, this might be a good comp. So what I'm saying is rather than just searching the ad library, find a good comp. All I did was search Elle Gray on Facebook. See, I just went Elle Gray on Facebook, and then I went down to pages because we want to find pages. I narrowed it down, and then I clicked on her, and that's how I got here. So find your comp, go to their page on Facebook, and then what I want you to do is go to the About section, and on the About section, there's this thing called Page Transparency. When you click on it, it shows you all the information, including this page is currently running ads. Now, sometimes they'll say not currently running ads, but this page is currently running ads. See all. So then you can see all their information. And if you scroll to the bottom, you can go to the ad library and it will pull up their ads. So you can actually see what this page is running ad-wise, which is fantastic. So here we go. Then we can look at their ads and see. So these are their ads. These are past ads. You can see a lot of video. Apparently video is working for this person because all of their ad creative is video. And you can kind of get a sense for what they're doing. You know, is it working well? You can see what's active, what's inactive. You can see summary details and different information like that. So the reason why we do this, for those of you who don't know, it's not because we want to steal poor Elle's ads. We don't want to copy them exactly. But if we think this is a good comp and we see that this person is ranking well and appears to be selling well on Amazon, by looking at her ads, we can say, what's she doing that's working so well? Well, again, almost every single one of her ads has a video. So maybe that tells me that my ad creative should be a video. I can also see all of these are going directly to Amazon. And I can see what the call to action is here. I can see what they're using in the actual copy, which may give me inspiration on how to create my ads. So again, we're not stealing anyone's ads. We're not copying them verbatim, but we're getting ideas of what might work or might not work. So you can also go, my Zoom face was covering that. So you can also just go to the ad library and you can search different words like memoir or something like that. And you can search different things like that and it'll pull up different things. The problem is that it pulls up everything, and some will be good and some won't, or some will be a good connection and some won't. So I much prefer to find the person I want to see, the comp I think is good, and look and see if they are running ads that I can connect and see their ads specifically, not just a bank of ads, because I think that's much more overwhelming. So there's your Facebook ad tip of the day. Hopefully that makes sense. Yes, isn't that a fun tool? All right. Yes, I have your question, Shira. Let's actually hop on over to that. All right. Shira had a question about ads. What question should you ask agents interested in repping you? How do you decide which agent is the best fit? So if you're querying agents because you would like to be traditionally published and you are getting interest questions that you should ask that agent. Number one, you should do your research to see who else they're repping, what kind of deals they're getting, if it seems to be successful, or those kinds of things. If you're dealing with an agent and you've actually got a deal on the table, usually there's a contract involved. You want to read through that carefully. The other things you might want to ask is, what kind of support might I have from you? Some agents read manuscripts and give editing feedback. Some agents focus on marketing. They do nothing editorial, nothing, but they might focus on marketing. Some agents don't do either. All they do is pitch your book to the publisher and you're responsible for everything else. So asking, what does your average client relationship look like and what might I expect if we decide to work together is a question you might ask. What kind of support might I find from you and what should I look for support elsewhere? Are good questions. Asking them, where do you see pitching my manuscript? One of the things you want to know is, are they thinking, yeah, I might be able to pitch it to a really small publisher? Are they thinking I might get interest from a bigger publisher? So asking them where they see pitching your book or where they think it might fit or find a home would be important as well. And part of it too is communication. What kind of communication do you typically have with your authors? Are there regular check-ins? Because it's very important to note that some agents pretty much don't call you unless they have a deal. Otherwise, there's not much communication. Some agents have a lot of communication. They'll have calls with you. They're available if you have questions. And some agents do not. So establishing and finding someone who has a communication style that works well with yours. If you are someone who likes a lot of communication and your agent or the agent in question is kind of like, yeah, I do quarterly updates and that's it. Or, whatever it may be, that's important. So make sure you're asking questions like that. And those are kind of the top things I'd be looking for. Aside from hopefully you've already done your research, you feel like this agent has the right connections, because that's one of the things too, is does this agent have connections in your genre? Do they have other books in your genre that are selling or they've sold recently? Because maybe this agent does no sci-fi. You've got a sci-fi novel. They don't do any sci-fi and they just want to start getting into it, but they don't have the connections yet. So it's important to kind of see what kind of connections they might have. And then also it's important once you get that information that you decide if it works for you. Remember, an agent is a partner in business. If you aren't communicating on the same wavelength, it probably is not going to be a successful relationship. If they don't have the contacts and you're really hoping they're going to pitch to these publishers and they don't have the contacts or they haven't made those sales recently, it may not be the right fit for you. If, for example, it's really important to you that you get regular updates and they don't do that, it might not be a good fit for you. So I think it's important not only to ask these questions, but you take an honest look at how the answers fit for you. Because sometimes we want an agent so bad, we just want to say yes. But if it's not a good fit, it doesn't usually end well. So make sure you're taking a look at that as well. If you've got, agents that are interested in repping you. And if you are having in agents coming back saying they'd like to sign you or different things, number one, congratulations, because that's awesome on its own. And the last thing I'll say about this for agents is that if you do get an agent who makes you an offer and you have queries that are still out, this is a great time to say, thank you so much. I'd already had a couple of, I'd had a couple of fools out. I would like to follow up with those agents just as a courtesy. And, may I have a week to think about it, or 2 weeks, whatever it may be. And then you go back to every single agent that you pitched, especially the ones you're really interested in. And your subject line should be, offer from XYZ, 48 hours to respond or something like that. You're essentially telling them, I already have an offer. I'd really love to hear from you. And that's what your email is. I do have an offer on the table and I need to respond. I only have 48 hours, but I really, really would love if you would consider my manuscript. I don't know if you've had time to look at it, but if you do, if you're interested, I would love to hear from you. So by doing that follow-up, sometimes there are agents. I've actually talked to some agents who say, I don't really read the slush pile. What I do is I wait for the people who email me and say they already have an offer on the table. Those are the ones I read because someone else has already vetted it for me. I've literally heard these words from agents. And so keep in mind that sometimes that follow up is how some agents who maybe already have a pretty full client list or who are busy, sometimes that is how they vet people. So don't miss out on the opportunity to follow up with agents you've already kind of been in touch with if you do have an offer on the table. What is the best way to go about approaching prospective venues, libraries, bookstores, etc., to set up author talks? A fellow author and I want to put together a book talk tour in Vermont and Massachusetts, where our newest books are set. The main character in my book, the folklorist, is set in Middlebury, Vermont. She is a folklorist working in a folklore museum. I would love to contact the Real Folklore Museum at Middlebury College. The best way to do it is just reach out. Email is usually best. Tell them it's really important to just introduce yourself. Hi, my name is. I'm an author and my book ties into your museum. I was wondering if there's a possibility of doing a book signing or event at your location. So it's important. Do not beat around the bush. Introduce yourself, put the ask right out there, then give them the rest of the information. My book is XYZ. It's available for sale here. I will be in town the month of February, whatever it is. If you have date constraints or if you don't, I'm open on dates. Is this something you'd be interested in collaborating on? But the first piece is simply just to put your name out there to introduce yourself and see if there's interest. And like I said, don't beat around the bush. People got things to do. Introduce who you are, why you'd like to work with them specifically, and then put the ask out there if there's a possibility of a event or a book signing that you guys could collaborate on. And then the details, all the fine details can come out later, but make that introduction, try to get a person. If you're going to like a general email and you don't know who to contact, it's fine to say, I'm looking for the person to contact regarding the possibility of an event. And I love this idea. I love that you're thinking about doing it with someone because that always makes book events way more fun, I promise. Yes, that makes me laugh, Kevin. All right. We've got about 10 more minutes, and I want to address something that has been it's been in the news quite a bit in the last like 24 hours. So for any authors who are using Spotify or Findaway Voices to distribute their books, authors who are using Findaway Voices and Spotify got an email yesterday that there were some updated terms to the contract. And in this change of terms, there is a clause. I'll see if I can read it. The clause reads, guys, I'm not a lawyer, but I think it's really important for you to know this. The clause reads, you retain ownership of your user content when you post it to the service. However, in order for us to provide the service to you, we do need a limited license from you to that user content. Accordingly, you hereby grant Spotify a non-exclusive, transferable, sub-licensable, royalty-free, fully paid, irrevocable, worldwide license to reproduce, make available, perform, and display, translate, modify, create derivative works from, such as transcripts of user content, distribute, and otherwise use any such user content through any medium, whether alone or in combination with other content or materials in any manner and by any means, method, or technology, whether now known or hereafter created in connection with the service, the promotion, advertising, or marketing of the service, and the operation of Spotify's and its successors and affiliates business, including for systems and product management, improvement and development, testing, training, modeling, and implementation in connection with the Spotify service. Where applicable and to the extent permitted under applicable law, you also agree to waive and not to enforce any moral rights or equivalent rights, such as your right to object to derogatory treatment of such user content. Nothing in these terms prohibits any user of user content by Spotify that may be taken without a license. You also agree that if you create your user content with one or more collaborators, narrators, you will ensure that each such collaborator has granted you all of the rights that you need in order for you to grant the licenses that you grant to us herein such user content. So number one, I'm just impressed that I was able to read all of that because those were some big words. So round of applause for me. I'm not afraid to say it. But number two, let me just read. So huge, huge problems with this. But I'm going to read a quote that came directly from a author who is also has a background in IP law. And I'm going to give you their take on what this means in more simplified terms. Quote, we all know distributors need certain rights to distribute our work. This new clause goes way beyond that. This is the most insane clause I've seen in a contract in a long time. When you say users grant see, I was so impressed I could talk and now I can't. Users grant irrevocable, there we go, royalty-free rights for Spotify to reproduce and make available our work, to translate our work, to make derivative works from our work. This means to make their own sequels using our universe and our characters, distribute our work, note royalty-free, and otherwise use any such user content through any medium, whether alone or in combination with other content or materials in any manner and by any means, method, or technology. The concern here is that it's basically a free pass. It's a free pass to train AI on the content. It's a free pass to take your content, your world, your characters, and make books, movies, all the things. Now, does Spotify do that right now? No, but let's also keep in mind that this also is not only for Spotify, but its affiliates and going forward. The other concerns here are that they can make transcripts. Oh, by the way, if you have an audiobook on Findaway Voices and you have a book on Kindle Unlimited, having a transcript that's up and available actually violates your Kindle Unlimited agreement and could get you kicked off of Kindle Unlimited or Amazon for your books. And oh, by the way, by signing this agreement, you're agreeing that any collaborators, like your narrators, also agree to it. So what happens if you just let this ride, you don't think about it? Because then it does end by saying, by the way, if you don't sign the agreement, no problem. We'll just assume that you've accepted the new terms if you continue using our services after March 15th. And by the way, again, if your collaborators are in it, your narrators, we're assuming that you have responsibility for them, which opens authors, excuse me, and publishers up. So if I signed an agreement with a narrator saying that I would not use their narration for AI modeling or things like that, and I've got my book up on Spotify and it's used for that, well, Spotify's saying, not our problem, can't get us in trouble. So who's that put on the line? The author, the publisher. So this came out yesterday morning. I think it was around 9 a.m. So much pushback. I sent strongly worded letters, posted it online. A lot of people did. We put in a lot of author groups. A lot of people emailed or took their books out of Spotify. The terms do go into effect March 15th. Well, that was at like 9 a.m. is when this first came out. The follow-up email came out last night. I think it was around 11 p.m. is when I saw it, 11 p.m. Eastern. And so we got their attention, but they haven't changed anything yet. I do want to read you what their current response is. If you email Findaway Voices, it's an automatic reply now, I think, something around here. It says, earlier today, we shared planned updates to our Findaway Voices by Spotify terms of use that are set to take effect on March 15th, 2024. Our goal was to introduce language that would allow us to offer authors innovative features, improve discovery, and provide promotional tools such as share cards, while assuring authors that you retain ownership of your user content when you post it to the service. In the hours since, we've received valuable feedback, and we understand that there is confusion and concern about some aspects of this language. We want you to know that we hear you and are actively working to make clarifying updates to alleviate your concerns. We are deeply committed to your success on Spotify. In the meantime, please stay tuned for more details. So this to me does not say it's fixed. It does say, who? That was a lot of pushback. We're gonna do something different. So I think this is very similar to the AI modeling clause that was in Findaway, I think a couple months ago, a year ago, that they ended up changing and working with SAG-AFTRA on. But I tell you this, not because I want everyone to freak out and go take your books out of Findaway Voices right this very second. The clause goes into effect March 15th. At this point in time, it seems that Findaway realizes and Spotify realizes, we're not that stupid, and that we want changes. I personally sent not only letters to Findaway Voices, but also to Writer Beware. I put in something to SAG-AFTRA and a couple of other places. And I think what's important is that, number one, if you use Findaway Voices, I think it's important that you email them from the email address that's connected to your Findaway Voices account, and you express your displeasure and disagreement with the terms, and note that if change is not made, you will be pulling your books come March 15th. Now, of course, you don't have to pull your books. I would. That's, of course, your choice, but I would be pulling them. The other thing I think that's really important is that they've said, okay, calm down, but they haven't changed anything yet. So when new terms come out, I know it's so tempting to see that new terms and just say, click, yep, we accept. I think it's really important, especially given the things that have shown up in Findaway Voices terms and their contracts in the last year or so. I think it's really important when they do send out a new update that we read it, we review it, and we make sure that you are still protected. And I think that's really important. So I wouldn't knee-jerk reaction, take all your books out quite yet. I would email them, document that you are not happy, and then I would follow up with those new terms and agreements and read them carefully. And when I see them or hear them, I'll be sure to do my best to read them, to get information on it, and to share it here as well. But yeah, exactly. I think they're testing the waters. They didn't even make promises. They didn't say, oh, we're going to change all that. They kind of just said, settle down. So I think we follow up with it, but I think it's really important you're aware, put a note on your calendar for, March 10th, that if you haven't seen changes, it may be time to pull those books, which really stinks because I've enjoyed Findaway Voices. I've recommended them for audiobook distribution, but not at that expense. I do not think it's worth it. And of course, their email. I think it's contact@Findaway Voices. Let me see. I know I have it somewhere, but I do think it's just so important that we are aware. We're aware of what they're doing. It's support@findawayvoices.com. If you, I'll put it in here, and it doesn't have to be fancy. We are not lawyers. We don't have to, well, I mean, some of us may be, but I'm not. But it doesn't have to be fancy, but I think sending an email, the more people that say no, the more agencies and guilds that step up, I think the better we will be. Findaway Voices has a lot of access, and I think it could be a really good thing. I've, again, enjoyed Findaway Voices, but I'm not happy with what they're doing right now. I don't think they're the only company who has or will do this. I think companies more and more are pushing to see how much they can take. But this is not okay. I would not have my content in with the new term. So I think it's important we follow up. And I will do my best to follow up and to be reading terms and things as well. If you get emails or things, feel free to send them my way. Like I said, I try to keep up with it, but I think we should all be aware of it. Even if we don't currently have audiobooks, I think it's important to know what companies are doing. Because I think that those things are important. And as much again as it's easy to look at those contracts and say, yep, agree to terms, I do think it's important that we read them because sometimes they slip in things that just don't quite work. So yeah, I know. It's one of those things. AI had its heyday, right? Like we talked about AI for a good year. Now we need another topic, and it might as well be find a way more. All right, everybody. That's all I have for today. Next week, it's just little old me back here. We'll be taking your questions live, marketing, publishing. So you can either drop them live in the chat in the Q&A, or you can email them in. We do have a guest coming up in March that I'm very excited about. So I'll have more information on that next week. But for now, enjoy your weekend. Thank you for being here, and we'll see you next week. Bye, everybody.